So I'm super happy to have you. My name is Kristen Erner. This is the City Savvy Show, and this is another episode. And it's a great episode because the person I'm sitting next to, Laura Stewart, and I'll let yourself introduce yourself, has brought me to a whole new world with From the Ground Up. And a lot of people ask me, why am I shooting podcasts? And the reason is that we need to bring me to you. And you do that so well. And I want to know about your journey. I think it's the first thing is I've known you for a couple of years as a real estate person. But where did your journey begin and how did you end up here? And where are you going?
Oh, that's a lot to unpack.
Right.
Well, first and foremost, thank you for having me on your show.
Absolutely. No
what
brainer.
Are we, episode 10, 11?
I think 10.
We're episode 10. So, I mean, I've watched you do this over the course of months, and I'm usually behind the camera, so it's actually really amazing for me to be here.
You're my cheerleader, actually. You're always back there doing this and doing all funny things. And it keeps you going, and it keeps the momentum of the show going. And so having you next to me is really great. But I don't have the background. Of course, I have Nikki
Don't
back there.
Don't worry, I can still be your cheerleader.
I have J-Cell back there. I have Jazz waving his hands
Jazz
back there.
in the house today.
So it's an amazing opportunity for people to understand why I do this, but the why is you.
Yeah, I think this is a great idea for an episode because, like you said, you put out these episodes, people aren't really sure why you're doing something. My journey in content creation started when I joined the REC Canada team, and you know that team very well because we have an office right next to yours, and we're very loud and obnoxious, but Kristen is a good sport and deals
I've learned
with
to
us.
embrace.
Yeah, you've learned to embrace us. And in 2018, one of the owners, Jazz Tackar, said, I want to start this thing called a podcast. And I didn't even know what a podcast really was. I'd kind of heard it thrown around, didn't know much about it, then just started YouTubing, like, how to start a podcast. What do I need to do? And that kind of was the birth of his podcast show. The whole intent of it really was to help provide our clients with educational information about how to buy, sell, and invest. And that was really where it started. And so we would email our clients with the videos and some tips and tricks on how they can kind of grow their portfolios. And it kind of blossomed over time into being something bigger than we even realized. In doing so, it allowed us to better connect with our clients. They got to know us better, who we are as people, the things that we're passionate about, while also still educating. Fast forward to the last couple of years, we had a number of agents kind of asking us, like, how are you guys producing all this content? You're on all the social media platforms, you're on YouTube, you're on podcasts, you're on Facebook, you're everywhere. How are you doing it? And we would give people the blueprint. We'd say, this is who you need to hire. You need the admin person. You need a graphic designer. You need a videographer like Nikki. This is who you should get on your team. And we would say goodbye, and then 3 months later, I'd say, how's the content creation journey going? And they'd say, I didn't do it. I couldn't get started. I didn't know who to hire. I didn't know where to hire someone. Or, you know what, I want to lose 10 pounds first. Or I need the lights. I need the special cameras and all this stuff. And I realized, and my business partner at From the Ground Up Media realized, like, realtors are getting in their own way of being able to produce content. I think we have this idea of what a realtor is, and we try to stay in that persona. Mm-hmm. And unfortunately, that hinders people from putting themselves on camera and really putting themselves out there. So then that was the birth of the company, and you being right next door to us and always looking so fashionable. We were like, he's going to be great on camera. And we've heard you talk to clients and whatnot. And so we've been doing this now for 10 months.
Right. And I think it was pretty easy because you mentioned the success of your own business, real estate business, that when, becoming a juggernaut that your team has become, kind of made it easy for me to kind of jump on board because you called me into your studio to have a sit-down meeting, and Jazz said 2 words. I said, I'm sold. Because I knew the content that you were putting out.
When you had seen us, like you saw us every day recording, right? So you knew what we were up to.
Constantly, but I saw what it was doing for your business. But I thought I saw that was more important than what it was doing for your business monetarily. you were helping people. And I think not only were you giving free information to the public, not everybody out there watching your content buys properties from REC. They don't. But you're providing a service, and it was like a public service announcement that you were doing. That's what sold me. That's what made me want to jump on board, because not everybody wants to deal with Kristen Erner.
Yeah.
I get that, but I want people to be informed, because there are 65,000 realtors out there, and not all of them are created equal. Let's be honest. So let's provide some free content. Let's get people informed. That's what I really wanted. And I didn't have the resources you did. And I remember the first podcast, and not trying to go back to me, but you had put a camera above my computer. I had a microphone. I did it in the box because it was COVID. It was through Zoom. It wasn't what I wanted. But through your experience, we made it bigger, we made it better. And so here we are 10 months later, and I ask myself, where's the end game, for me? And I say to myself, well, I'm looking at the new camera setup today, the new seating arrangements. We're changing, we're evolutionizing what we are doing here, and it's changing the way social media is for Kristen Erner. And so what is the importance of social media to a realtor or to a business owner?
I want to unpack a couple of things you said there first. I think it's
because there was a lot.
No, I just think it's so interesting what you said, because we started the company 10 months ago. You came on board immediately, and you said it started not the way you wanted it to. And I think that's so important to touch on, because I've now worked with and met with a lot of agents who are thinking about doing content, and they have these big ideas, this big show that I want to do, this big production. And I'm thinking, can you even take out your phone and do a quick story for Instagram? They're not even capable of doing that. So what I think was so impressive what you did was, let's start small. You were okay. It wasn't everything you wanted it to be, but you knew you just had to get your feet wet. And like you said, and then we can get better and better from there. Why social media? I think it's important to know. So, when we think of real estate agents and how they market, we think of driving down the Gardner and someone's billboard, or being at the bus stop and someone's billboard there and their face splashing, and people who farm areas, and you're constantly getting direct mailers, right? Saying I just listed, I just sold this, those little flyers you get, and all that stuff still works. It's not to say that doesn't work anymore. I definitely think that can be a major part of someone's marketing campaign. But I think the opportunity now is to really take a look at the people in your life. So if you have kids, teenagers, and you take a look at them in the evening, what are they doing? They're probably on their phone. And then what are you doing? You're probably sitting there on your phone. No one's even watching the TV. That's just kind of playing in the background. And so I think when you realize that all the attention is now in the phone, it's how do we as salespeople, as entrepreneurs, provide context to what we do in the method of which people are consuming content. And so social media, Instagram, TikToks, whatever the new, it could be, schmammogram tomorrow. It doesn't really matter what the platform is. What matters is that you're where people's attention are. Right. And I think if you do it in the sense of providing education, like we talked about, and not coming on there and just being I just listed, I just sold, just listed, just sold all the time, and you really try to connect with people through the camera or through your written word, it's amazing the relationships that you really grow. And I think just even in this context, the relationship that we've developed because we've given the education away for free about producing content, right? So it's, if you can do that with your content, your clients, I think that just makes for a much more beautiful job, beautiful career. I know you always say you guys are big on family. You and Jay Sell say that a lot. You work with a lot of families, and you want to provide a good service, and you want to really help people make the right choices. That's very important to you, and I think this is that way that you can kind of
give back.
Yeah,
and I think that's important. PSAs, or public service announcements are great. We do have to feed our family. We understand that, right? But that's a byproduct of doing the right thing. When I go into a client's home, I always say, we're here for you, not for us. You're first. And I felt that from the ground up. I felt that you were really here for us. You cared about, I'm your brand. I represent you too, right? I'm your customer.
And you're doing a great job.
Thank you. I'm trying. I'm really, really trying. But I think it's important because you and Jazz, you sat me down and you said, this is not about you, right? This is not about selling real estate, saying call Kristen and Jay Sell to sell your house. That's not what we're slinging here. And I like that because that's, what I just said. I say it to my clients, we're here for you, not for us. It's what it's about. And that's where the synergy comes from, and this energy, it's an easy flow for us. But I just need people to understand the why. And the why is, give people information, and you've delivered that for me. And it's an amazing thing. Where are you going from now? Where do you think you're going to end up in 5 years from now?
Oh my
gosh. Moving forward.
I wish I had that kind of crystal ball for myself. It's funny. I never thought I would be a business owner of a media company up until 10 months ago when I suddenly was a business owner of a media company.
Right.
I never had this intention. I thought I was just going to practice real estate. And it's just so interesting that now doing what I'm doing and helping people like you do this and seeing the growth, this has now become my passion.
Right.
And I think I can speak the same for my business partner. Yeah, selling real estate is great, and it's a lot of fun, and I meet a lot of great people, but I needed a new challenge, and this was kind of that. We try not to talk too much about our lofty 5-year goals anymore. I think what we realized very early on was if we make it seem too big, and I think we told you this, we had this road to 1,000. Remember that? When we were like, we're going to get 1,000 agents, and that's our goal, and that's going to be incredible. And there was a lot of questions. Well, how can you produce content for 1,000 people? And when we thought, well, you have your own brand, which is different than my brand, which is different than Nikki's brand if he was a real estate agent. We're all so different, and so we thought that would come across through the camera. But what that did was it made us realize we were trying to scale it too fast, and I think you felt it early on where we weren't giving you enough love. We weren't giving you enough attention. I think with Jazz and anyone who's following him, your viewers, some of them might know him already, he does a lot of content, but he didn't always start like that. When we started the podcast, it was an audio-only podcast. There was no camera. He didn't want the camera. He was fearful. We kind of thought we would just plop you into the system now, where he is, which is super comfortable. He wants 10 cameras on him. And
I know there's an extra camera. I'm so excited. When I saw the extra cameras today, I was like, oh my God, this is great.
We got 3.
Right, we got 3 now, right? So
we're hitting all the good
growing.
angles today.
Yeah, we're growing. Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you.
No, I love that. I just think we missed the steps with people. And that was, we have to, take people along this path of content creation journey. I think what people don't understand is we're all human, and putting ourselves in front of a camera is very nerve-wracking. And then putting that information, that post, that video, that picture out to the world to be judged is actually very, very difficult. I don't think enough people give enough credit toward how difficult that is. And when you go online, the TikToks of the world, you're going to get some negative comments sometimes, and sometimes they're really harsh. And I think if people realize the people who are kind of hiding at home, they have no profile picture, they've never posted anything, it's easy for them to make comments to people like us who are putting ourselves out there. But at the end of the day, we're human, and it can hurt. And it makes us maybe think twice about doing it the next time. I
like when I get negative feedback because it only makes me better. And sometimes I get silly negative feedback, and that's okay. At least you're watching, right? That's the important part. There's somebody out there actually watching to make that negative comment, right?
Well, not everyone has that same kind of attitude around it, right? Some people are one negative comment, or, I hear, oh, everyone told me that the image wasn't good. I'm everyone or one person? One person quickly becomes everyone, right? And I just think kudos to you, kudos to all of our clients who are pushing themselves to put themselves out there. It's really not easy. And I think right now for Jazz and myself, that really is the journey. Watching you grow is the journey. Watching you come in here today and think, I want my set here, and having that confidence. I don't need notes. Let's go. I think circa 10 months ago when you did your first one, that was different, right? And I think that's so amazing to watch you grow, myself grow, my business partner, everybody.
Well, we're all so individual, especially as realtors who put themselves, what other industry has their picture on a business card, right? So why?
We're so obnoxious.
Right. And you know, I've always tried to say, this is the way I look. I can't change it. And so, you know, you talk about clients that have said, well, I got to lose 10 pounds. Mm-hmm. Well, ever since I signed with you, I gained 10 pounds.
We're good at that. We like to feed people around here. Yeah.
So there's always a food orgy going on around here,
yes,
right?
There is.
And so talking about individuals, mm-hmm. how do you deal with that? Like, how do you deal with all of these personalities, like divas like me, like I won't name anybody else out there, but I'm not an easy person to deal with. Well, I am, but I'm not. Okay. I do want things a certain way.
I want to flip this on you a little bit, Kristen, because the same thing is for all your clients.
Right.
Like, think of your real estate clients.
They're all different.
They're all different.
Right.
So how do you deal with them? I'm putting you on the spot.
Right.
But you do, right? You figure it out.
Because everybody's individual, which I said to somebody yesterday. I said, that's what makes my job so amazing, is that there are no 2 days the same.
Yeah.
And every day is a new day, and I get to have new challenges every single day. And our clients, but I get to say, we have to mutually agree to want to work with one another. Mm-hmm. And that's the same attitude that you have, mm-hmm. because if you don't think that you can work with us, then you're not going to work with us, and that's it. And that's linear. And that's what I like about you guys, is that you're very linear. You're not going to just put up with my bullshit and continue to do so. And that's what I really like, and I'm the same way. I won't be abused, of course not.
Like,
right?
you've probably let some clients go before, right?
I have.
And I know that how you deal with a client who's currently going through a divorce, and maybe there's one agent representing the wife and another one the husband. Like, right. How you deal with that couple is very different than, say, a first-time home buyer, people who are in their mid-20s right. and they're buying their first-time home, because the circumstance is different. And I think that's what we've tried to do here with FTGU is I want you to embrace who you are, and I want to embrace who you are, and I want your people, your community, to see more of it. I think the best part is not when the camera goes on. It's usually like the talks beforehand. Those are the most funny to me, because that's when the person's most themselves.
Right.
And I'm always like, wait, let's just try and get that on film, right? And I think that's the beautiful part of it. And I definitely believe that my real estate experience and dealing with different clients, and some of them are higher maintenance than others. I generally now feel, though, that a lot of it stems from fear with right. people. So if you're getting a lot of pushback, whether it's in sales or business and whatever your clients are, there's something that we're pushing them outside their comfort zone, and it's too uncomfortable for them, and they're kind of lashing out in a way. And I've seen that with a lot of people. I've done it. I lashed out at Jazz the other day because he wanted me to do something, and it was so outside my comfort zone, and right. I was freaking out. And instead of me just saying that I'm scared, I don't want to be judged, I'm nervous, right. I made it like he was the problem, and it was his fault.
Right.
But I think it's just about catching yourself in the moment as quickly as you can to say, is this a me problem? This right. is probably a me problem. Right. So I've learned that through this, and I think that you've probably learned that not just with the content, but your whole career.
Yeah, and I find, I say it to a lot of new realtors, I say you have to change the way you do. You got to change it up. If you don't change it up, then you're not going to grow. And I feel that ever since we started this journey 10 months ago, that I've actually grown again. There was a point in my career where I became stagnant. I was doing really well. I've always done really well, but I was becoming, to me, irrelevant. And I saw these young guns, next to me doing these podcasts. Are you
calling me young? I love you even more now.
Right. And do I want to stick up with keep up with the younger generation that are doing new things? And the answer to that is yes, because my clients need that. My clients need me to be on social media. They need me to be recognized, because then other realtors recognize me. And when we're doing transactions, I get the respect that we all deserve when you think about it. I
never even thought about it from that perspective. Right. Like, when you're in negotiations, if someone knows you because you have some clout online, that probably helps with a little bit more leverage,
Absolutely.
Helping you help your clients a little bit more,
Absolutely.
Right?
I have found that since we started this, that business is up. We're getting more brand recognition. We're getting more people that say, I'm ready to go without saying, why don't you think about it for the night? And we'll talk tomorrow. They say, no, we're ready to go. Did you see me on my podcast? And they'll say, that's one thing that Jazz was really big on, is that you would say to me, tell people to tune in to your podcast. And I'm starting to do that now on all my appointments. Make sure you tune in. Make sure you watch the content that I'm sharing, because even my reels that I do are important. They're relevant. They're relevant to today's market. And so I just want to continue to be relevant. And I think I have to thank you for doing that, because you've helped me grow. By me helping you grow, you help us grow too.
Well,
and there's going to be 1,000 really happy people that you're going to be helping grow. That's wonderful. And you're capping it, which is important, because then you can keep the quality control. I always say I sell this many houses because if I sold this many houses with our small team, the quality control wouldn't be the same. We wouldn't be able to give you the good hands-on experience that everybody deserves. And I feel that by you capping and only taking on X amount of clients and you have a big production team too. I mean, we're not talking 3 people. You have a big production team and you're growing at that. And I find it amazing. I think that what you've done for everybody and what you're doing for us is great, and that's why I wanted to have you as a guest rather than having a mortgage broker or a lawyer, because that's great once in a while, but you're the why. I'm here sitting in this chair and talking about you because I think From the Ground Up should become huge. And if you haven't hit 1,000 yet after 10 months, something's...
Well, you know what? I think we're happy with where we are, because this is the best testimonial I could ever get.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like, you and I knew each other, but how I've gotten to know you now, and Giselle, I've gotten to know you guys on a much more intimate and deep level, and I'll take that with me for the rest of my life. And I think you had mentioned when you go into clients' homes and they already kind of know you. I just think it's so wonderful that people can now sort, right? So they're getting bombarded with real estate agents wanting their business, and they don't know who to pick. And now with their content, they can go on and watch you. And they might look at you or hear you and say, this guy's not for me. I don't like his pocket square. That's not my vibe.
Right.
Great. And you had already made mention that, there's a lot of business to go around. So it's okay if someone doesn't want to work with you, because guess what? They were going to meet you anyways. So now they're not even wasting your time. You're not even going to get your foot in the door in the first place.
Right.
So let's go and find the people that we do want to work with. And I think that's where Jazz and I and the team, we really want to work with people who see the good that we're trying to do, who believe in it.
Right.
And it's not necessarily that we promise people are going to get more business. I think it's great that you think business is up, and I hope you can attribute part of it at least to this, but I'm sure there's other
hard
factors
work too,
as well.
of course, right?
Exactly. So I just think it's been so much fun, and we've loved having you as a client. You're probably one of the most interesting.
I love the word interesting, eh? That's awesome. I have to say, this becomes my calling card, doing the podcast, because I can say to people because I always say to people, we have to mutually agree to want to work with one another, because if we don't get along, what's the point, right? So I always say, why don't you watch my podcast first? And then you can see who I am as a personality, and that might help us with this whole process, because selling a home is not like just sticking a sign in the lawn and walking away. It's a process, and sometimes we make it way too easy, or make it seem too easy. It's not easy. It's really difficult to sell a home, especially in today's market that's now shifted and things are changing. Interest rates are going up. There is still a high demand for homes, but the prices have gone up, and so I like this format as my calling card, and I have to say, we did not call each other to see what we were wearing beforehand.
We just both have really good taste.
Absolutely. So we both have this addiction for clothing, but I don't know why I chose blue. I figured spring, blue skies. It was a great day for it.
It's perfect.
It's perfect. Yeah. So I just want to thank you, and I look forward to growing, because, like I said, I don't know where my end game is. I still don't know where yours is, because I just see you growing and growing and growing, and I want to grow with you. And that's why when I come, every time I do a podcast, and I'm going to try to wrap this up nicely, but every time I come to do a podcast, it's different every single time. And that's just like real estate. It's different every single time. And so if you're interested, you really need to reach out to Jazz and Laura from the ground up. And the solution is there, they have it, and they'll make it fit your needs. So Laura Stewart, thank you so much.
Thank you, Kristen, for being along on this journey with us, really.
You're most welcome, and thank you for tuning in, and tune in next time.